And it is showtime. We are live. What is up, everyone? It feels really bright. There's sun's actually shining through my window here. But welcome back, everyone, to the Hack Smarter Twitch channel. I'm gonna actually turn this gain down a little bit. It got like the sun just came out before I went live here. There we go. That's much better. The power of technology. But guys, welcome back to the Hack Smarter Twitch channel. My name is Tyler. I am your host once again for the second time today. And earlier today, I was working through Flaws.Cloud, specifically level 4. And honestly, I got completely stuck. First, I couldn't remember the credentials for my AWS account, like my sandbox account, and you needed your own AWS account to complete level 4. It required spinning up an EC2, restoring a volume. It took me most of the morning trying to figure out like what I was doing wrong, figuring out the proper syntax. But guys, I did it. Like I actually made my way through level 4 and wanted to come back on stream and work through it on stream now and maybe stumble through it together. So although I did it once, it was really confusing. So I promise I'll get stuck again, even though I already completed this scenario. But I do just want to give that caveat. Usually when I'm on stream, I'm working through stuff for the first time live. I did work through this offline after being stuck in the previous stream. So if you feel like I'm going too fast and you're like, how the heck did Tyler do that? Only because I already did it once. That's the only reason I'm able to do it a little bit faster this time than I did the first time. That being said, let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys, and we'll see if we can work our way through level 4. So what we're doing is something called Flaws.Cloud. It's completely free for you to do. It doesn't cost you anything. Most of it is right here through the browser. So here's what the Flaws challenge is. Through a series of levels, we learn about common mistakes and gotchas when using AWS. So if you want to learn AWS pen testing, this alongside Cloud Goat are some incredible resources. A series of hints are provided that will teach you how to discover the info you'll need. If you don't want to actually run any commands, you can just keep following the hints. Well, we want to run commands. And so we made it through level 1, level 2, level 3, honestly pretty easily. Like I was able to work my way through those levels. Those made sense. I hit level 4 and it's like I ran into a wall and got stuck. But that's when learning happens, when you run into that wall. For as much as, so I earned my OSCP back in December, and sometimes I talk a little bit bad about OffSec and their mentality of try harder. But that's actually one thing I thought OffSec did well at, was teaching students like, hey, just because you get stuck, you're going to encounter unknowns in the real world. You need to learn how to work through those unknowns. You need to learn how to work through your frustration and ask good questions and work your way through it. So that's what I did, and I made it through this level, and we'll see if I can make it through the level again while I'm live on stream and struggle our way through. So the information that we get for level 4 is this. It says for the next level, you need access to the web page running on an EC2. Now remember, for those of you new to AWS, EC2 was just a fancy word that means a virtual machine. And there it is. So we have a web server running on port 80 or 443, whatever it is, right here. And if we try to access it, we need a username and password. So the goal is, how the heck do we get the username and password of that? And it says it'll be useful to know that a snapshot, that's our goal, a snapshot, or in some ways a backup, was made of that EC2 shortly after Nginx was set up on it. So in the previous one, in level 3, we got creds. We had an access key and a secret for a user named Scott. And so we are going to begin enumerating with our username Scott. So when you see me use the name profile Scott, that was from level 3. So if you're watching this on YouTube, just watch the previous video. You can see how I got those creds. Otherwise, do level 3 on your own. You can find those creds. But that's just so you don't think I'm making those creds up out of nowhere. Those are Scott's creds that we were able to find. So the first thing we need to do when you have AWS creds is essentially run who am I. So I'm going to pull my notes up. And this is your generic, like, who am I command in AWS. We can just copy this. And what we need to do is just update our profile to be the name profile that we're working with. And for this one, it's going to be Scott. And here's what I missed when I was initially working through this. We have this user/backup. So it seems that this profile, this Scott profile that we have access to, is some type of backup user. And we have this EC2 that must have a backup on it. And I actually think Flaws.Cloud explains it better than me. So I'm actually going to click the hint and we'll kind of follow through. So we'll treat this a little bit like a try hack me and less like hack the box. Hack the box is, black box, dive into it, no hints. Try hack me kind of guides you through it for learning. And you don't know what you don't know, especially when it comes to AWS. So let's understand what's going on. So you can snapshot the disk volume of an EC2 as backup. In this case, the snapshot was made public, but you'll need to find it. And actually just got done in a one-on-one with a senior pen tester at Rhino. And I asked him specifically about this. Like, I asked him what we're doing in this level when we have backup permissions on an EC2 and we can't log into it. I said, is this realistic, or is this more of like just a CTF trick that Flaws.Cloud is doing? And he actually said, no, it's realistic. We actually encountered that in the real world, where you have a role like this that, hey, we can't access the EC2 itself, but we have the permission to make backups or snapshots of the EC2, and then we can load it in our own environment. So the attack we're going to do is actually realistic. All right, in this case, the snapshot was made public, but you'll need to find it. To do this, first we need the account ID, which you can see that right here, which we can get using the AWS key from the previous level. So they called it Flaws. I just called it Scott, but in level 3, you get credentials. That's what it's referring to. Using that command also tells you the name of that account, which in this case is named backup. The backups this account makes are snapshots of EC2s or VMs. Next, we can discover the snapshot. We can specify the owner ID just to filter the output. For fun, run that command without the owner ID and notice all the snapshots that are publicly readable. And I did that initially, guys, in my first stream. If you were there, you remember. By default, snapshots are private, and you can transfer them between accounts securely by specifying the account ID of the other account. But a number of people just make them public and forget about them, it seems. This snapshot is in US West 2, and we're going to want to look into that snapshot. So we're going to do AWS profile, drop our name profile in here, and EC2 describe snapshots, owner ID, and our owner ID is going to be our account ID here. And then it told us it's in the region of US West 2. So when it comes to AWS, there's different availability regions that you can spin up resources in, and often you need to specify that region for the resource you're looking into. So that's what we're doing there. And here we can see that we have the snapshot ID here. We have a few different pieces of information. We have the description, which is blank. It's not encrypted. We have the owner ID, which matches our account ID up here. Progress 100% means the snapshot is done. We have the snapshot ID right here. Start time, status completed, the volume ID, the volume size of 8, and then all of this information. So this is information that's helpful. We'll grab that, and I'll just start taking some notes here. And we'll drop that information in here just so we have it. So we have our snapshot information. Now what we need to do, and honestly he'll explain it better than me, so let's go to hint 2. It says now that you know the snapshot ID, you're going to want to mount it. You'll need to do this in your own AWS account, which you can get for free. Now this is where in my first stream, I couldn't get signed into my AWS account, but I pre-prep, guys. I'm signed into my Tyler Sandbox account. Nothing in there right now. So now we should be able to do that. So first we need to create a volume using this snapshot, right? So we can see all this information here. Now in the console, you can create an EC2. I prefer Ubuntu, but any Linux will do. Here's what I noticed, guys, when I was doing this, and maybe I was doing it wrong. When I create an EC2, it doesn't allow me to specify like 2A or 2B. So what was happening initially is I was just doing US West 2 because that's what we're saving it for, but AWS kept putting my EC2 in US West 2B, whereas this volume is in 2A, and I could not connect them. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so I learned I'm going to make the snapshot first, or we're going to make the EC2 first, okay? And then we'll see what availability zone the EC2 lands in US West 2, whether it's A or B or whatever. And then we will create the volume using this snapshot. But you can see for this, the information we need is our account, which is our own AWS account where we can spin up EC2s, and the snapshot ID, which is right there. But first, let's create an EC2, and we're going to actually do it here in the Amazon console. So if you're in the Amazon console, one easy way to get to EC2, you can see I visited recently. If you just start typing EC2 up here, you can click there, virtual servers in the cloud. Of course, I have nothing running. I do have volumes. These are my previous volumes. I wonder if I don't think I'll have to delete them. This is when I was initially going through it. But what we're going to do is click launch instance and launch instance again. And we are going to create a virtual machine. So we will just call this Tyler Flaws 4, and we'll just do Ubuntu because I'm familiar with Ubuntu. We have our architecture here. All of this is fine. We can leave all of this standard as what it is. We have our instance type. This is fine as well. It's free tier eligible. We need to create a new key pair. So let's go ahead and do that. This is like an SSH key that we're going to create so we can SSH into this box. So let's create a new key pair and we'll just call it Hack Smarter because we're on the Hack Smarter stream. We'll do that one. Either one doesn't matter, but we can do this one. It's not supported for Windows, but we're doing Linux anyways. This is fine. And let's go ahead and create the key pair. It'll download here, and just so we're ready, we can copy that. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Copy home, Tyler, downloads, Hack Smarter, that, and then set up the permissions properly. Okay, beautiful. So we have our key pair created called Hack Smarter. Our network settings are fine. Allow SSH traffic. I'm going to do it specifically from my IP address just for security reasons. We don't need to allow it from the internet. Storage is fine. Here's where supposedly you can add the storage right here, but I couldn't get it to work. So we're going to spin up the EC2 first, then create the volume, and then attach it. And it took me quite a while to figure out how to do this properly. But I'll show you guys how I ended up doing it. And honestly, it probably won't work now that I'm live on stream, but it did work when I was offline. We don't need to do advanced details. All this other stuff is fine. We'll go ahead and click Launch Instance. Beautiful. We successfully launched the instance. Here it is. Instance status pending. So it's in US West 2B. And I'm just in US West 2. This is what I was talking about, guys. I can't specify 2A, 2B. At least I don't know how. I just clicked US West 2 and it put me in 2B. The issue I was running into is if you follow this command, you put the volume in 2A and apparently they can't communicate across 2A and 2B in these availability zones. So I learned that the hard way. Save you some time and frustration there. But now we'll do this command. So AWS profile, and it's actually going to be Tyler. Now, you shouldn't use Tyler. I set up my own name profile with Tyler that connects back to my sandbox. EC2, create volume, and availability zone, US West 2B. So this has to match where you spun up your EC2. Our EC2 is an availability zone US West 2B. So this has to be in US West 2B. And then region, US West 2. I think that part should be fine right there. Snapshot ID, and we have that snapshot ID right here. So we'll grab that, drop it there, and hopefully this works. Beautiful, it did. So we have some information here. The biggest thing we need is that volume information. I'll show you guys why. So let's go ahead and copy that. I'll drop this information here. So we have this volume 0F7E. I'll show you guys why this matters. If we go back to our AWS console and go down to volumes here, we should see this volume 0F7EFE, and I see it right there. So we're going to click that volume. And now we have to attach it to our VM, our EC2 that we created. We can do that with actions, attach volume, and there it is, our Tyler Flaws 4. So once again, guys, I know I'm doing this fast, but that's only because I spent like 2 hours banging my head against my keyboard to figure out how to do this properly. So if you didn't do it that fast, that's okay. I didn't either the first time I ran through this. We can keep the device name the same. It says newer Linux kernels may rename your device to that, which I think Ubuntu actually does if I remember right. Even when the device name entered here and shown in details, blah, blah. But that's fine. So let's go ahead and click Attach Volume. Okay. So now we attach that volume. Now we have to SSH into it and mount it. And he'll actually explain this here. So we're going to SSH in with our key. We'll need to mount the volume by running that, and then we can dig around in that snapshot to find the cred. So the way we can SSH into it, really easy. If we do SSH Ubuntu, because that's the standard account there, and we need to grab the IP, the public IP. So if we go back to EC2, there's our instance. We have our public IP address there. And I don't really care if you guys see it because I'm going to tear this EC2 when I'm done. -I to say, hey, we want to do a key. hacksmarter.pem. Fingers crossed. Beautiful. So we just spun up that virtual machine in our AWS environment. We are now SSH'd into it. Everything so far has been successful. Now we need to mount the extra volume. So first we need to see what volumes are available to us. Can I scroll? Oh, maybe that's the end of the page. LSBLK. And if you remember right, they said it might rename it to XVDF1. If my memory serves me correct, that's what it said anyways. So now we just need to mount it, which I don't think... So his commands here, I don't know if these actually work. Let me try his. This isn't how I did it. Be dev. No, okay, it did work. I must have done it wrong the first time. So then we should be able to mount it. So if we do sudo mount dev xvdf1, can we just put it in mount like that? And so that snapshot, that EC2, this EC2 that we're trying to get access to, hold on, let me show it to you guys. Let's just go to that level so we understand what's going on. This EC2 right here that's hosting this web server, we took the snapshot of the EC2 and mounted it into our own environment. So this right here, like the home and everything, what we're seeing is this EC2 that you see here, a snapshot of it. So now we begin enumeration, and the first thing I always look is like, is there anything in the home folder, which is what I did here when I was working through it myself. And we have Ubuntu, so I was like, well, let's see what's in Ubuntu. Oh, shoot. The file was here last time. Now maybe I'm doing it wrong. There was like something that started up the web server that had the creds in it. Question is, did I mount the wrong thing? I don't think so. Pretty sure is how I did it. What if I do... It's already mounted. Is there something weird with my volume? So guys, what this should look like, pull it up on my notes. Let me see if I missed something. If I pull up, whoops. If I pull this up and we look at Flaws.Cloud, here is what it was before. So in the mount home Ubuntu, there was a setup Nginx. I just catted it out and it gave me this username and this password. I don't think I did anything different. Told you guys on stream it wasn't going to work. If we look at Flaws.Cloud level 4 walkthrough, see if someone else did this differently. Let's check this guy out. Blah, blah. We did all that. We did all that. We did all that. Oh, he didn't use Ubuntu. What did he use? Like the standard Amazon one? He must have used the standard Amazon one, but still, same stuff. See what's mounted. We can see it mounted there. SVDA1 is already mounted. Now let's list down the other volumes using... So we have the name of the volume. I tried to mount to the mount directory, but it gave an error code. I need to be root to do that. Well, we are root, or we can sudo. We'll try using the same command with sudo. Okay, I think there might be something strange about the snapshot I took, because this is clearly the way to do it. I wonder, can I attach... I'm going to try it a different way now. If I go back to my volumes here, can I just attach another volume? Let's see. In use, these are available. So these are the ones I think I was working with before. What if I take this one, attach volume, So there's that right there. That's the one I just attached, right? So now, I don't know if I can do mount. It's already mounted it. Is there anything in temp? We'll go like that. I'm making a mount too. And now, oh, we don't need to see that. So if I'm just making sure we did the exact same thing, which I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah, that's what I did. So if we do sudo mount dev xvdg1, and we'll call it mount 2. See, that's what I was talking about, guys. I don't know why it didn't work in the volume I just took. But that's what it should look like, and it worked with my previous one. We'll just clear my screen so it's easier to see. Because then if we cat setup, you can see we see this file here. We see that the username is Flaws, and here is the password. And now if we go to our authorization, we should be able to type Flaws and drop the password in there. And for those of you watching on YouTube, if you saw what I missed the first time I did it, please let me know, because I'm not quite sure why it didn't work with the first volume that I created. I must have specified something slightly incorrectly, but at least we got it to work this way. And now we'll click sign in, and we don't need to save it. Good work getting in. This level is described at that. Let's actually go read about this level a little more, like the lessons learned. Lessons learned. AWS allows you to make snapshots of EC2s and databases. The main purpose for that is to make backups, but people sometimes use snapshots to get access back to their own EC2s when they forget the passwords. This also allows attackers to get access to things. Snapshots are normally restricted to your own account, so a possible attack would be an attacker getting access to an AWS key that allows them to start and stop and do other things with EC2s, then uses that to snapshot an EC2 and spin up an EC2 with a volume in your environment to get access to it. Like all backups, you need to be cautious about protecting them. And when I was talking to one of the senior pen testers at Rhino about this specific scenario, he said there's times that you'll notice your user has a role to take snapshots or has permissions to take snapshots, but they can't actually access the EC2s, but they can take a snapshot of it. Well, if you can imagine, you may not be able to access the EC2, but if you can take a snapshot of it, you can do what we just did. You take a snapshot of the EC2, then you put that snapshot, you mount it, you put it as a volume in your own AWS environment, you spin up your own EC2, you mount that volume, and then you can look through the file system for secrets or anything else that you find interesting. And that's how it would work, it sounds like, in the real world. But guys, this is the only thing I wanted to jump on, because I told you this morning I would come back and walk through Flaws level 4 since I got stuck the first run around this morning. Hopefully you found that helpful. Hopefully you learned something through the process. The next time I am on stream, we'll dive back into level 5, but I got some work I have to do. I just wanted to jump on to do level 4. So guys, thank you for hanging out. I will say, usually I stream on Wednesday nights. I will not be streaming tonight. I'm speaking actually at a church this weekend, which means most of my evenings are set apart for prepping for that, not for hacking. So I'll be back with you guys probably throughout the day. When I have pockets of time throughout my day, I jump on stream and you guys can just watch what I'm working on as I continue to learn. Otherwise, I'll be back next week, Wednesday evening, doing my normal hacking at night. So guys, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for being here. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. I will catch you guys later.